I'm Laura Daly.
Hi, I'm Ashley O'Shea.
Hi, I'm Hayley Short.
Hi, I'm Barbara Fatiriadis.
And I'm Daniel Lewis. Welcome to 20 Minutes. Tonight, on this special edition, we'll be presenting a special report on the world-leading consulting, architecture and environmental consultancy firm GHD. Established in 1928, GHD quickly rose to become Australia's largest firm in the water and sewage industry. Their objective is to help clients improve utilisation, efficiency and effectiveness of services and infrastructure, all of this built on their core values of safety, teamwork, respect and integrity. In 1978, GHD began expanding internationally through their joint venture in Malaysia. Partnerships with other firms as well as government agencies and non-profit organisations feature heavily in their long-term strategy. Today, they operate in 5 different continents under the same brand name. Tonight, we will discuss the principal characteristics of their economical and industry environment, the details of their international strategy, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats they face as a firm. And finally, does GHD have a sustainable competitive advantage? Find out all this and more in 20 minutes.
In terms of the general environment, some of the economic forces that are influencing GHD are overall commodity prices, which have recently fallen over the past 4 years. Another factor are exports and imports in the industry, which are relatively low due to the service-based nature of the industry. Other factors include the currency exchange rate, in which a low dollar value in the home country will lower the cost of providing services to clients compared to those in overseas markets. The demand for engineering consulting is expected to increase over the next 5 years from the public sector, mainly driven by government tenders for large infrastructure projects. This will in turn stimulate economic growth. Firms including GHD will positively impact from the increase in demand for residential construction. In response, they have broadened their market position by merging with firms such as Conestoga, Rovers and Associates to serve the US market. Other important indicators to consider are the general decline in housing construction in Australia, the number of full-time workers reducing, a gradual rise in world commodity prices, which will benefit the mining industry, and Asian economies showing high demand for Australian natural gas. We are now going to talk about the industry environment. So the GHD Group operates within the engineering consulting industry, which mainly provides services for construction, engineering infrastructure, environmental and industrial projects. So far, from industry reports, we have seen an increase in industry revenue at an annualised rate of 3.4% over the next 5 years. These fluctuations in revenue, however, are due to declining investments in large-scale infrastructure projects and high commodity prices, which have also risen demand in services such as the mining sector. In terms of key driving forces, some factors include increased globalisation, where many foreign-owned firms have acquired domestic firms such as Bechtel. Australian-owned companies have also expanded their presence in the Asia-Pacific market and have entered joint ventures with European and US firms. Consolidation has also increased among larger firms such as the GHD Group, where, for example, they have merged with Canadian firm Conestoga, Rovers and Associates in 2014. A high degree of technological change is also present in the industry, where activities across production, construction and environmental processes are heavily relying on new advances such as computerized assisted design, 3D printing and data management. This is vital to increasing labour productivity and the operational efficiency of consulting firms. Lastly, looking at the industry life cycle, the engineering consulting industry is currently in the mature stage of the life cycle. This is due to high consolidation among large companies and low revenue growth. Some key success factors that are vital for firms are the ability to satisfy environmental requirements in order to meet market demands for corporate sustainability, the ability to secure export markets, such as working with international clients, which will help firms withstand periods of economic uncertainty. Access to a skilled workforce is really important, especially for the labour-based nature of the industry, where they rely on highly skilled workforce compared to capital. Favourable reputation is also highly desired, so establishing a good reputation for delivering high quality products and services. And lastly, the ability to continuously innovate their services. Looking at Porter's 5 forces model, in terms of the threat of new entrants, we can see that barriers to entry are increasing at a moderate level. This is mainly precipitated by things such as educational requirements, low capital intensity, intimate access to distribution channels and clients, project consortia, which involves engineering firms bidding together with other finance firms to win contracts on large-scale projects, heavy government regulation and policy, and low industry assistance in relation to subsidies and grants. Bargaining power suppliers. Key supplier industries include construction firms who have low to medium bargaining power due to the low concentration of firms in the industry, with many small-scale operators. Employment placement and recruitment services are also key supply industries who have low to potentially high bargaining power. This is due to other online employment sites such as Seek competing with these firms. Machinery and scaffolding rental is also another supply industry who have low bargaining power due to the low concentration. 3, bargaining power of buyers. The construction and mining company markets exhibit the greatest demand for inputs to engineering consulting firms. These include heavy industrial construction firms, developers and building construction firms, and the public sector such as governments for road and highway constructions. 4, intensity of rivalry is particularly high as industry has exhibited slow industry growth, resulting in more intense competition and contractions in profit. Large consulting firms have also expanded their operation networks across international markets, which has diversified and increased their range of offerings to serve these markets over multi-stage projects, and has therefore increased their profitability. This presents a threat to smaller scale firms.
Hi, I'm Hayley and we're standing outside of the MCG, which is a project of GHD. So after all of this research, can we determine whether GHD has a sustainable competitive advantage? Competitive advantage can be defined as the implementation of a value-creating strategy which is not simultaneously being implemented by any current or potential competitors. A competitive advantage that is sustainable is one where these other firms are unable to duplicate the benefits of this strategy. Researchers argue that a sustainable competitive advantage is only derived if it continues to exist after attempts to replicate it have stopped. Early research surrounding the concepts of sustainable competitive advantage and the resource-based view of the firm found the theory deepened understanding surrounding how competitive advantage is made sustainable and the conception of heterogeneity. One of the suggested models is the resource-based view of the firm, which specifies 4 criteria that must be met for an organisation to have a sustainable competitive advantage. They must have capabilities that are valuable, rare, inimitable, and non-substitutable. A 1993 study acknowledges the basic principle of the resource-based view, which states that resources and capabilities of primary production are heterogeneous across organisations. Further, the study argues that for firms to break even in the market, they must have varying capabilities, and should an organisation wish to be profitable through their homogeneity, they must have access to superior resources. However, a 2010 article argues that there is a lack of theory surrounding the managerial decision-making process from which these resources are derived. The article states that while their traditional resource-based view can explain performance after the event, it does little to provide managers with information when they are looking to gain a competitive advantage. These findings support research undertaken in 2005, which presses that the behavioural view of resource strategy recognises that what a firm does often comes from complex behaviour processes. So how does this relate to GHD? Well, GHD's primary source of competitive advantage is derived from their human relation practices. The industry relies upon skilled and knowledgeable employees and is extremely labour intensive. Thus, GHD's focus on improving their employees' abilities is a valuable strategy that works. As their General Manager and Director of Australia and New Zealand has said, there is a lack of highly skilled people in the industry, and GHD are highly benefiting from their 88% retention rate, which is rare in the industry where it's usually quite low. Their ability to retain their staff has allowed GHD to invest more funds into training and innovation, as they don't have to worry so much about the costs of retraining new staff and losing that knowledge. This competency is extremely difficult to imitate, as it's derived from a corporate culture of learning and development. GHD could be classified as a learning organisation and utilises a strategy focusing on employees and their development as their core competence. Their ability to marshal skills and learning embedded throughout a firm, in addition to responding to the external environment, is of great importance to the organisation's strategy. This strategy is extremely hard to imitate. Although the infrastructure GHD has in place, such as their innovation zone, could be imitated to some degree, the inclusive and learning-focused culture is much more challenging to copy. Their international strategy also offers GHD a competitive advantage by further encouraging innovation and delivering new ideas that create value. GHD focuses on their incredible ability to continuously innovate to penetrate new markets and regional areas. Examples include a quiet truck, a building sun shield, and many more high-tech solutions to global water and energy problems. Based upon this research, there is no doubt that GHD have a competitive advantage. The real question is whether it's sustainable. A 2008 article summarises the findings of several papers to determine that a firm would have a sustainable competitive advantage if the following 4 factors are met. Resources are heterogeneous enough to account for the efficiency differences in rent, resources are ex-ante-economical, resources are ex-post non-imitable, and the resources are not perfectly mobile across firms. While GHD meet each of these criteria with their human resources strategy as previously discussed, imitability could become an issue in the future given technological advances. This 2008 article is basing its findings on studies that were undertaken 15 years prior. So we must ask ourselves if the concept of sustained competitive advantage is something that can still be achieved by firms. Can anything be rare and difficult to imitate forever? Or with technological changes, is this concept outdated? Thus, we arrive at another question. Just how long must a competitive advantage last for it to be considered sustainable? A scholar presses that although a sustainable competitive advantage is one which can last a long period of calendar time, it's not defined as lasting for any particular time and does need not last forever. Under this assumption, any competitive advantage could be considered sustainable so long as the organisation is able to react to changes in both the internal and external environment. GHD most certainly have a competitive advantage that can be sustained in the meantime. However, technology is constantly changing and evolving, and their advantage will only last for as long as it will take for their competitors to find a way to replicate this.
Hi, my name's Laura and I'll be covering global strategy. Why go global? GHD was already well established in their domestic Australian market, providing them with a strong foundation and motivation to internationalise. Internationalisation is the evolutionary process during which a firm adapts to the international environment. GHD recognised an opportunity and a shift in the structure of the global economy when emerging markets and economies began growing more quickly than developed markets. The engineering industry has recently undergone a global consolidation, meaning smaller players have recently been increasingly put under pressure to provide specialty services in order to survive. GHD has been exploiting this change and strategically acquiring firms. The internationalisation leaves GHD with some big questions concerning strategy. The first is the mode of entry, second, the strategy going forward, and finally, the implications. The mode of entry. The choice of suitable foreign market entry mode is an important strategic decision. GHD began its international expansion in 1978 when it established a joint venture in Malaysia. The 1990s were a time of entry into more Asian markets including the Philippines, Thailand and Vietnam. GHD now also has operations in New Zealand, Hong Kong, China, the UK, Ireland, Canada and the USA. GHD has been successful in the internationalisation of its operations through achieving strategic mergers, joint ventures and acquisitions. This has led to GHD taking advantage of their partner firms' knowledge and information, successfully transitioning from a strong Australian business to a large global player. GHD's internationalisation strategy has been consistent with the stage theory, where a neighbouring market should be developed before distant markets. GHD has adopted a multi-domestic strategy, differentiating their products and services to adapt to local markets. This strategy is used in industries where the pressure for local adaptation is high and the pressure for lowering costs is low. Due to GHD's size, it operates under a matrix structure with decentralised decision-making to allow the firm to tailor its services and respond to rapidly changing environments. Operating under a multi-domestic strategy leads to issues concerning differences in language, culture, income levels, customer preferences and distribution systems. GHD faces risks and challenges. First is the cost factor. Because GHD is in the large-scale construction and advisory industry, they already incur large costs due to the nature of their services. Therefore, having to internationalise and adapt to new business environments might not lead to significant increases in costs to the business. This links to their competitive advantage being their people, their strong long-term relationships with clients and their innovation capabilities rather than the price of the products they offer. The issue of communication raises a question. How will GHD maintain open communication lines between its many operation teams under the matrix structure? Technologies such as GHD's Innovation Zone need to be brought to the attention of all workers in order to be successful. Finally, local adaptation might backfire. The extent to which GHD caters for different cultures and societal values and norms needs to be balanced. GHD must deliver in terms of meeting the needs and expectations of their clients. Therefore, it can be expected that cross-cultural competency and flexibility be shown by GHD, as well as some level of standardisation across GHD's business activities. Therefore, clients will feel more comfortable in terms of receiving individualised attention and typical GHD way of doing things. What are the implications, and has this strategy worked? GHD has continued to grow through external events such as changes in technology, changes in the competitive situation or in the political conditions. Through cross-border acquisitions, multinational companies may reshuffle the competitive landscape and change their strategic resources and capabilities. If well selected, an acquisition may open the door to entirely new knowledge, which then may be leveraged in combination with other resources held by the firm.
Hi, my name's Ashley, and today I'm going to do a SWOT analysis of GHD. So this will enable us to not only determine what's happening internally within the organisation, but also externally in the environment in which it operates in. Firstly, GHD has a number of strengths relative to its competitors. The number one difference is their human resource management systems. In the current industry GHD operates in, they are highly reliant on highly skilled and knowledgeable employees. With 600% growth in employees since the 1990s and currently 6,500 employees across 5 continents, GHD has been incredibly resilient against the shortage of technological specialists like engineers and architects. A retention rate of 88% at the moment speaks volumes of the organisation's ability to retain and motivate employees within the organisation. For the past 3 years, GHD has been recognised by the Workplace Gender Equality Agency as the employee of choice for gender equality, and even winning the most outstanding company in gender diversity in 2014. Adhering to their values of safety, teamwork, respect and integrity, GHD set out exclusive programs to harness and foster these needs. Formal training through their business school model, peer assistance programs and the Innovation Zone sets GHD apart from all their competitors. Another strength of GHD is their diversified product offerings. GHD is privately Australian owned and now operates 200 offices throughout Australia, New Zealand, Asia, the Middle East, Europe and the Americas. It provides engineering services to various markets, including water, environment, transport, energy, property and buildings. Since the 2000s, GHD completed a large volume of acquisitions in China, New Zealand, US and also opened offices in the UK, so their diversified products really strengthen them in their position within the industry currently. The third strength for GHD is their ability to acquire and merge across Australia and internationally. GHD has strengthened its position in the Australian market through a series of acquisitions, including Hassel and Associates in 2008. Hassel and Associates was a consulting firm specialising in agriculture, natural resource and environmental management issues in Australia and the Asia Pacific region. GHD has focused on broadening its client base, which is one of the reasons behind its July 2014 merger with Canadian firm CRA. These mergers and acquisitions have allowed them to acquire knowledge that they couldn't do it domestically, and it's enabled them to learn skills and translate their skills across a variety of nations, strengthening their position in the market. GHD also has a number of internal weaknesses. Firstly, GHD's industry-related revenue has declined over recent years. Falling commodity prices and subsequent deferral of investment in the mining sector have negatively affected GHD's industry-related revenue and profit over the last 4 years. Another weakness of GHD is their reputation. In recent years, in 2004, there was a tsunami in Indonesia. They were involved in the rehabilitation and reconstruction of a number of parts of the city, and according to the World Bank, the company failed to disclose fees, fraudulently submitted housing reimbursement requests worth hundreds and thousands of dollars, and also supplied false documents. They were banned from the World Bank contracts until June 2004. It is important to not only analyse internal factors, but external factors within the industry itself. GHD's performance is influenced by a number of opportunities that they can obtain in the future. Firstly, there's expected growth in the engineering industry. The engineering industry is projected to face more favourable conditions over the next 5 years, with a 3.4% increase in industry revenue. Due to improved demand from the public sector, it is expected to drive demand for the engineering consultants. Another opportunity for GHD is the expected rise in capital expenditure. Public sector capital expenditure is forecast to increase over the next 5 years as federal and state governments seek to stimulate economic growth. This trend is expected to increase demand for engineering consulting services. Large integrated consulting firms are anticipated to benefit more than smaller firms, hence it's perfect for GHD. Although various levels of government have committed to funding several large and transport projects over the next few years, some are yet to be finalised. This is a large opportunity for GHD. Planned projects, including flood resistance in Queensland, as well as removing a number of level crossings in Melbourne, as well as undertaking Melbourne Metro rail tunnels, are a huge investment opportunity for GHD. There are also a number of threats related to GHD's position. Firstly, the overall commodity prices. Commodity prices have fallen over the past 4 years through to 2017. Hence, demand for services in energy and resources sector, as well as mining, has declined. GHD have been extremely affected by this, as well as their revenue taking a large hit as a consequence. Secondly, there's been an increase in globalisation. GHD has been largely successful in its international business strategy. Over the past few years, there have been a large increase in the number of firms who are also looking to internationalise and hence acquire small establishments overseas. For example, US firm Jacobs Engineering acquired Australian firm Sinclair Knight MERC in 2013, expanding into Australia and United Kingdom. By firms expanding globally, they are having greater access to a number of global reach and revenue. Finally, the industry's lack of high-skilled technical specialists. A shortage of qualified engineers has forced the industry to raise wages to attract and retain staff. This increase is highly impacting share of revenue, putting immense pressure on profit margins. Wages are the largest part of the industry's cost structure, and this rise in wages has increased dramatically over the last few years.
So, GHD is an outstanding international competitor in the consulting business. Their attention to their human resources and the value that brings to their company is what gives them the ability to excel. They do need to pay attention to the threats that face both them as an individual corporation as well as the entire industry.